make it a 76-63 final as they advance to their first Sweet 16 since 2017. As for Wisconsin, their 6-game winning streak in the round of 32 is snapped. 9 seeds fall to 6 and 66 against the 1 seed in the round of 32 since the field was expanded in 1985. Baylor gets you 330 on the money line, minus 330. They do cover. They've won and covered in 5 of 6 round of 32 games under Scott Drew, and the over hit on free throws with 29.3 seconds to play. Here's Dana Jacobson after the game with Baylor head coach Scott Drew.
Well, Scott, I've been here with you before. Congratulations. You are moving on to the round of 16 for the first time since 2017. How does that sound?
Well, I think it's the winning formula. Where are you the next weekend? We need you. We need you. Great job.
You'll have to talk to the CBS bosses. I had nothing to do with it. This was your team effort from your guys, both ends of the floor, but really that stifling defense. I asked Davion, where does it come from? Where does that buy-in come from?
Well, first of all, our guys play with so much joy. Jesus, others, yourself, and they buy into helping their teammates. And we credit Wisconsin because we knew coming in they're a great team, and we knew we really had to be on our A game, and a lot of respect for them. And Coach Gard does a phenomenal job. They're a veteran team. They didn't want to go home, so we were going to have to really be sharp. And our guys picked it up. We didn't want to go home either, and we're looking more and more like the old Baylor Bears prior to the pause.
Well, you saw the #1 seed Illinois go down right before this game.
Not a good omen, but anyway, we got to control what we can control, and when you're coaching guys like this, it's just such a blessing and joy because they love one another, they sacrifice for one another, they represent the school in such a great manner, and as we know, March Madness is such a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. No one takes it for granted after last year.
No, and I have one more thing for you. It's possible you face the winner of Villanova and North Texas. That may mean a matchup with your former assistant.
Well, first of all, we want him to win. That way we can brag about him all week long, and he can brag about us hopefully all week long. And then at least one of us is for sure in the Elite Eight. So proud of Coach McCaslin, what he's done at North Texas. Unbelievable coach and man, and Coach Mills with Oral Roberts. So we're 1-0. We need 2 more today.
What a great answer from the Baylor head coach there on the prospect of possibly facing North Texas, taking the positives from it. Turnovers, big story in this game against Wisconsin, though. They shot the exact same from the field, but the difference being the turnovers. Wisconsin had 10 more. Not a team that was turning the ball over a lot during the regular season, one of the best in the top division, but not on this day as they go out to Baylor. So as Dana mentioned, Baylor will take on the winner of Villanova versus North Texas and sets up a possible matchup for Drew with one of his former assistants. Villanova versus North Texas tonight at 8:45 p.m. Eastern Time. Villanova go in as 6-point favorites. And for more on this result, let's now welcome in CBS Sports College basketball analyst Chip Patterson and Tim Doyle, who joins us from the William Hill Sportsbook at Horseshoe Hammond. Tim, I'll start with you by getting your reaction to this here. We thought that maybe Wisconsin would be able to make a good game of this, but defense wins championships, and Baylor certainly played good defense on this day.
Yeah, what an outstanding job by Baylor. Just a total team effort. You know, I think they get the reputation, Chip, of just being a bunch of athletes. They're more than that. They share the basketball, and you could just tell eyeball test watching on the screen. Baylor was playing at another speed, and Wisconsin had a, let's just say, a so-so type of year. Go in, knock off North Carolina. You're thinking, all right, maybe they're going to put it all together. This game was really never close. I just love the way Baylor takes care of the basketball. Excellent decision makers. And if you're on defense, watch ahead because they throw so many lobs. That is like the worst feeling in the world. When I was at Northwestern, we were playing Michigan, and they threw the ball over my head once, and I was thinking, well, that's a really odd pass. And then all of a sudden, Angels started singing, "Ooh," and then a guy caught it and dunked it on me, and the place went crazy. That's what it's like when you play Baylor. Watch your head. This team, I said before, Loyola could beat any team in college basketball. After watching Baylor, I don't think they could beat Baylor.
Yeah, this was first for Wisconsin. The North Carolina result was an anomaly. I mean, that was the best game that they have played the entire season. It was a Badgers team that looked unlike anything that Wisconsin had put together all year. They made every shot that they weren't able to get. So I wasn't necessarily expecting this to carry over, and regression was expected. My biggest takeaway is how scary it is that Baylor didn't have its best game offensively, and yet it just was never in doubt. I mean, Wisconsin was never going to be able to chip into this lead. It's like Baylor had a complete understanding for the competition and for the distance that it had created. And every single time that Wisconsin tried to make a little bit of a run, Baylor always came up with an answer. And I think about the experience that is all over this roster. I mean, the players like Meyer that have been in the program for a couple years, double digits off the bench today against Wisconsin. The transfers that have really dedicated themselves to being a part of making Baylor into a modern power. And then, of course, Scott Drew, the architect of it all, back in the Sweet 16 for the 5th time with Baylor. He has turned Baylor into a modern basketball power. They share the ball well. They defend at an incredibly high level. And they just caused so many problems for Wisconsin with their versatility. They've got 5 guys on the floor that can all handle the ball. This is a team with a capital T that can cut down the nets in Indianapolis, because so many teams in the NCAA tournament are overly reliant on 1 or 2 guys. And Baylor, sometimes, like, Meyer stepped up with double digits off the bench. Davion Mitchell had a pretty good game, but like, it could be Maceo Teague. Jared Butler is their best player. He's that All-American type that you've got at guard. There's just too many weapons on this Baylor team. Scouting against them is an absolute headache for any opposing head coach. And I think the fact that they did not have their fastball and yet the result was never in doubt only proves that.
Well, you can bet that Villanova and North Texas were taking some notes this afternoon watching this one. The winner of that game will play Baylor in the Sweet 16. Chip, I'll ask you, who gives Baylor the better matchup in that one?
I think that Villanova ultimately, just based on talent, and I think about someone like Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, Justin Moore. Like, you've just got a few more players on the Villanova roster that are going to be closer to the level of what you've got with the Baylor Bears. But North Texas, Jeremy, that's the better story, like, without a doubt. The Scott Drew coaching tree in the South region of the 2021 NCAA tournament, that's the story. We almost want to see North Texas win so that we can get that matchup in the Sweet 16. So, yeah, Villanova might be a little bit more imposing even without Colin Gillespie. It was nice to see that team be able to seemingly get right, but I think North Texas can win this game and provide us with a little bit of a better story, even if ultimately, like we see so many times with double-digit seeds, everyone loves them in the first weekend, but in the second weekend, the heavyweights normally flex their muscles. I think Villanova would be a closer game. North Texas is a better story. I like stories. Go Mean Green.
Well, I used to cover Conference USA, so I'm all over Mean Green. Give me Mean Green for that one. Okay, so Tim, I want to ask you here before we let you go. Another loss for the Big Ten, but what does this loss in particular mean for Wisconsin?
Yeah, it's been a rough 2 games, huh? Illinois loses, Wisconsin loses. Things look bleak right now for the best conference in America in the regular season. And now you got Michigan. I mean, who's picking Michigan to come out of their region? I don't know anybody. Everybody has picked against the Wolverines. Ohio State, they're gone. And I think overall this season, if I had to grade Wisconsin, I'd give them a C-. This was an experienced group, a group who's aged from the starters, averaged over 22 years old, a guy, in a year where every coach I've talked to, the biggest word they keep using over and over again is experience. Well, they had plenty of experience, just wasn't enough. They were clearly outclassed from an athletic standpoint in this game against Baylor. I'm just curious to see how many teams like Wisconsin, a guy like Cameron Krutwick on Loyola, how many guys that are seniors go, oh, we're going to run it back? because the NCAA is going to grant another year of eligibility to all the seniors. And I'll take a page from Rodney Dangerfield in the movie Back to School. Don't go to the real world. It's horrible. School's amazing. You got the little ice cream machine there that goes like this. You get to wake up at 11 a.m. Go back to school. Get another degree. Go get an MBA. This is the one thing the NCAA has really knocked it out of the park, and they've given you another year of eligibility. Take advantage of it, because the real world, Jeremy, you know it, I know, and Chip know it. It's not all it's cracked up to be.
Tim Doyle joining us from the William Hill Sportsbook at Horseshoe Hammond, having himself some fun. Chip Patterson also joining us. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Good stuff as always.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.